What's up, Pit Crew? Welcome to the nation. Today we're continuing our custom interior trim project. So we've got our pieces pulled out, we've got our trash off to the side, and what we need to do is first we need to hit these pieces with some sandpaper just to clean up some of the resin from our last attempt. Once we get done with that, we're going to be ready to try this again. So let's get into it. All right, so as you can see, I prepped my work area with some dollar store aluminum foil. And I went with this because when I resin these parts, the resin will stick to the foil and I can just tear that away just easy as can be. If I didn't do that, I would have gotten resin on the table itself. The parts may have bonded to the table, which could lead to bad things when I go to separate them. To prep these parts, I've got little pieces of resin from the last attempt that I need to knock off here and there. And I also want to give the parts a little grit, some fine cuts for the new resin to stick to. So I've got a piece of 120 grit and just gonna hit them up by hand. And that's really all it takes. You don't have to go too crazy with it, just give it a good scuff. All right, this part I'm not going to spend too much time on the actual shift knob because I'm probably going to end up having to use a double-sided tape to hold the piece I'm going to make down onto it. The trim right here, this chrome trim, things don't stick to chrome very well. They really don't. Double-sided tape does just fine, but I do not anticipate that the resin will stick. Now, this piece has a bit more resin on it than I was hoping. So I'm going to try to break it off with some needle nose if I can. If not, I'll try with paint scraper. And if that doesn't work, then I'll just have to try to hand sand every piece. But so far the needle nose seemed to be working just fine. These pieces are being a little more stubborn, so I think I'm probably going to break out my dual action sander and see if I can clean them up a little bit better. Now, if you do use a power sander on something like this, do not leave it on one spot for too long, especially with 120 grit sandpaper. It will eat this plastic up. Okay, so after sanding these pieces, what you need to do next is wipe them down to get all the dust off. I recommend a water and alcohol solution. About a 50-50 mix will be fine. Any kind of rubbing alcohol will do. Doesn't matter if it's 91 or whatever. The higher, the better. And the reason why I recommend that is because it'll clean any of the oils from your skin off of the product. With resin, that's not as much of a big deal. But if you were going to paint these instead of resin them, it becomes a very big deal. Any oils or silicone-based products will cause paint to bubble up and create pinholes and what's called fish eyes. And it's going to make your end product look like garbage. It's fixable with a lot of sanding, maybe even an additional coat of paint, and a lot of buffing. But it's best, for time's sake, if nothing else, just to try to avoid it altogether. If you are going to do that, by the way, I would recommend that you sand down and paint the aluminum or the wood trim that's already on there. Because these pieces, without any kind of overlay, will leave a slight gap. So your fit and finish is not going to look very good. So what we have here is a 2x2 twill blue Kevlar weave. You may hear it referred to as Amarid, which, same thing. Kevlar is an Amarid, and there's a few other Amarids. It just basically means synthetic fibers. Okay. Now, when working with this stuff, you kind of want to have a gentle hand. If you get too rough with this fabric, you're going to pull the weave apart, and you will see it on the finished product. It will not look good. So, last time I did this, I cut out basically a blanket's worth of carbon Kevlar hybrid. And I didn't bother to shape out the part. I just took a square and I resined it and I laid it on the part and just saw how it went. Well, it didn't turn out very good. So what I'm going to be doing this time is I'm going to cut the parts out a little bit more precisely. Then I'm going to glue the fabric in place. And then, once that glue dries, I'm going to come back and resin it. And I just had a thought. Fraying can be a big deal with this stuff. Ditch the gloves for this. Fraying can be a pretty big deal. I don't want this material to fray. So, I'm going to use some tape. I'm going to tape around the parts, basically where I'm going to be making my cuts. That should help keep the fibers in place. Now, if it was just one piece that I was doing, I wouldn't worry so much about fraying because I'm going straight into gluing, straight into resining, what have you. But since I have all these little pieces to cut out, I want to take a more cautious approach. These scissors suck. You need really sharp scissors. This piece I think I'll also wait to trim until I get it glued on. I want to thank you for watching. If you liked this video, if you learned something today, hit that like and subscribe. Share this video, leave a comment, tell a friend. Come back often for new episodes.